Alright, I'm told I have toast. Excellent. Alright, you know what? We are going to run back to Andre. We are going to start leveling up our weapon because this, as I said, this is a thorough playthrough. But we're going to be clever about how we do this at the same time. Oh, I should repair my equipment. So we're going to use a little bit of a trick to make this, to cut the trip in half. Alright. So anyway. Alright, so vertical space in D&D. So the first question is how you represent the vertical space. And you're either going to do it schematically on a grid or using terrain or whatever, or you're going to do it narratively. However you do it, it's already a big challenge to represent spaces that are layered over other spaces, right? I mean, how do you do that? Generally, and I have done it in the past. Like you'll have layout, like combat layouts where there's a bridge over an encounter area or what have you. And then what I tend to do is, like, on my battle mat, I will draw the two encounter spaces, the upper level and the lower level, side by side, and use dotted lines to indicate where the overhangs and shit are. But in general, that can be very taxing on people because understanding spatial relationships and translating a 2D diagram into a 3D world can be very hard on some people. It's a particular type of intelligence called spatial reasoning, and everybody has a different level of it. And if you tax a player too hard on it, they're going to lose their sense of what's going on, and they're not going to be able to take advantage of the vertical space. The other big problem with vertical space in D&D is that all of the really cool things you could do with vertical space just don't have a mechanical representation in the game. So, for example, there is nothing to represent any sort of a high ground advantage. Okay, now, of course, if you get right down to it, the real advantage of the high ground is just lacking cover. Okay, that is, by using, if you are on the high ground, well, there's a couple of advantages. First of all, from a range standpoint, the thing is you have more unobstructed lines of attack. From a melee standpoint, it is harder for your opponent to attack up at you, and when they do, they are generally striking at less vulnerable areas of your body, like your legs. They're not striking at your center of mass. And you are striking down, which is easier. You have gravity on your side, which puts more force into your swings. And on top of that, you are attacking to more... you are attacking to more vital parts of their body. You're attacking the trunk or the head when you're attacking downward. So, there aren't good representations for those mechanics in D&D. There really is no advantage to having a high ground in D&D. It's just not represented in the system. You could do it, but you would have to add those rules. On top of that, there's other stuff in D&D, like, for example, falling damage. And falling damage is one of those weird sort of swingy effects where it's either trivial or lethal. The way falling damage scales, depending on your level, the falling damage is either easy to ignore or it'll kill you outright. Because, a fall of 10 feet is taking... it's a D6. What is it? Or is it D10s or D6s in 5th edition? I can't remember. I can't remember the falling rules. But either way, the problem is the way it scales up is that, you can have falls that are either trivial or lethal, and it's really hard to find a balance in between. And of course, one of the things about vertical spaces is footing and falling damage. That's one of the things that adds challenge to it. Now, again, you can sort of fiddle around with that. And there used to be ways, like, there was a lot more, like 3.5 played around with things like slow falling and using the tumble skill to reduce your fall and shit like that. But that stuff all kind of gradually went away as sort of micro rules that were unnecessary. Oh, hey! Oh, we have some NPCs. So hold on a second. Actually, I'll come back to you guys. You hang out. I'm going to finish my discussion of vertical spaces. On top of that, so falling damage is an issue, and then on top of that, D&D doesn't handle footing and footwork very well in general. Because people tend to occupy these 5-foot spaces and then stay planted in them, and there aren't huge amounts of forced movement. I mean, there are spells where you can shove people around and bull rush to do that. But like in a real fight, you can use your footwork is actually a skill. Like we used to talk about that because I used to be a fencer, and we used to talk about footwork a lot in fencing because there was a lot of using the distance to your opponent and using the way you moved. And of course, fencing is essentially one-dimensional because you only go forward and back. But there was a lot of using the way you moved to draw your opponent forward and back into a proper position. So, in theory, if you're on the edge of something, you're trying to jockey for position and circle around to get your opponent close to the dangerous edge while at the same time avoiding it yourself. And that's another thing that is just not in D&D at all. There's no representation of footwork in D&D. On top of that, one of the things that falls into that helps with verticality again is the idea of cover and lines of sight. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna ascend my weapon now. Oh, he wants my
mighty weapons with one of those. Why not lend it to me?
Yeah, here's the large ember that we found.
You won't be disappointed.
Whoops, sorry.
I can hardly wait to get started.
Alright, I'm pausing my discussion for a sec. So now we have a new option. We can modify equipment. And you can see because we have the large ember, I can use large titanite shards to take my equipment up to level 6. Or I can also make them raw. And what raw does is raw increases the base damage of a weapon, but it decreases the bonuses that it gets from your stats. So if you don't have any good offensive stat, then raw will let you make up for that difference. Generally speaking, the raw is kind of a raw deal. It's it actually kind of sucks. And divine, which takes down the physical damage of the weapon, but adds on a magic damage to the weapon that is based on your faith stat. And since my faith stat is so high, we're going to see a big jump suddenly in my
I'll be seeing you
in my damage. So if we look now at my
out there.
yeah, shut up. So if we look right now at my my right weapon damage output is, or my right weapon attack stat is 135. Okay, so then we're now gonna modify my weapon. So my longsword is gonna become a divine longsword, and because of the stat scaling, notice now I'm at 219, which is far higher than the weapon would have suggested by itself, because my faith is so much higher than my strength and dexterity, and that's giving me a bonus on the damage, which is why I wanted to have a divine weapon.
Need anything forged?
We're going to go back and talk to those NPCs, and then we're going to use a little trick that I use to get back down quickly to the sewers. Because those NPCs are actually an interesting story. So the other thing is lines of sight and ranges, because when you get into ranged combat and you get into high ground and low ground, you can use that sort of stuff to your advantage. If you get on the high ground, you avoid cover, or you can avoid obstructed lines of sight more easily because you're shooting down from above. So, physical obstacles are not as much of an obstacle to your shots. At the same time, if you're on a balcony or a platform above someone else, if you back away from the edge, you can't be targeted from below because the edge of your balcony or, you know, or whatever is going to provide a degree of cover. Now, that all is perfectly in line with D&D, because D&D does deal with lines of sight and cover and all those rules. The problem is that relies on people to be able to think in terms of the Pythagorean theorem in 3 dimensions, or at least, you know, triangles in 3 dimensions. And people are bad at that. Meanwhile, pausing for a moment, we have some new NPCs now. First, we'll talk to Petrus here.
My guests have finally arrived. I will be departing with them shortly. So, I'm afraid I will be saying goodbye soon. It was a pleasure.
And we're going to talk to the NPCs until we exhaust all of their dialogue options. Yep.
Come again. The effectiveness of the teachings depend upon your faith.
He's telling me that my magic scales based on my faith stats. So. Not actually entirely sure what the deal is with this guy, but he can only mumble. There is a reference to another character who might have had their tongue cut out as a heretic. So that might have been what happened here too. But this is all he does, is he just mumbles. Then we have this guy.
What have we here? You look awfully raggedy. Times are grim. The least you can do is look sharp. Don't you dare meet my lady like that. You might scare her off for good. Oh, you again. What business have you? I don't suppose we can help, though. We accompany my lady on her righteous mission. It is quite a chore, but I'm stuck with her, and Nico too. I can't very well abandon them now. Oh, it's you.
All right.
Oh, we're to leave momentarily. The catacombs aren't exactly
okay. There was one more dialogue thing. I didn't mean to blast through that. So he implies that they're going down to the catacombs.
Reria Nox.
Reria Nox is also Latin for fear the night, or fear and show fear and respect to the night.
You are undead as well. Then we've no time to fraternize. I have my mission, and you no doubt have yours. We must not let this curse overcome us.
So this is Rhea. Rhea is a member of the
urgency of our tasks. Or are you so uncouth as to lack such judgment? By the looks of you, I should think not.
There's actually a
Did
real...
I not explain?
Yeah. Okay, now she's repeating herself. So there's actually a really,
Oh, hello.
a bit of a deeper story implied.
Rhea is the youngest daughter
There we
of
go.
the good house of Thurland. Those young knights are her old schoolmates, but I'm not sure what to make of them. I'm afraid they may be a bad influence. Rhea is the youngest...
Okay,
but
I think
I'm a...
we've now exhausted everybody's
Come
dialogue
again.
options. So Rhea of Thorland is a cleric. She's a member of the Way of the White. And she is undead. She is on an undead mission. And an undead mission means basically she is oh, by the way, because I didn't rest at any... Oh, wait. Sometimes we get lucky, and I'm going to need some souls to do this. And it's important that I have enough. Hold on a second. Just bear with me. I'll explain everything in just a moment. Sometimes you get lucky, and Lautrec will offer an extra dialogue option here.
Oh, hello. I'm considering a change of
Damn it.
location. I have a rather pressing matter to attend to up above. That keeper has served me well, but enough with her.
As we will discover, he is referring to the Firekeeper, who is the mute woman in the cage there.
Oh,
Yeah, okay. So sometimes Lautrec will offer to sell you information for souls, and 10 times the amount of your level. And we're going to use a Homeward Bone, which returns to the last bonfire that we rested at. In this case, it's going to bring us back down to the depths. Which is why I didn't rest at any other bonfires. So, sort of a poor man's recall spell. So... Oh, then now the other thing is that because I have some large Titanite shards, I can keep reinforcing my armor some more. So we'll go ahead and reinforce my Holy Robe a little bit. Because that's... Oh, and now I've reached the point where it needs a Titanite chunk. And another Titanite chunk. And you can see it's just upgrade paths, nothing special. And I'm just going to quickly throw all this equipment that I've picked up into my bottomless box so it doesn't get in the way in my menus. And, yeah. So anyway, long story short, for all of those various reasons, I would not... You just couldn't pull off a vertical space well in D&D in the way that, like, Blighttown does it. Which we're going to see in a moment. It's just, you know, it's just one of those things that just doesn't translate well to a tabletop RPG. No harm in that. I mean, we talked about mazes and how they really don't translate well because, again, they're puzzles that are based on the visual, that they're based on the space. You know, you could do a vertical space in a more abstract way, but D&D doesn't handle abstraction super well either. You know, it's very... D&D is very precise. It's very all measured out. So we're gonna notice now, by the way, that my sword is gonna do big boosts. It got a big boost in damage now. So anyway, Rhea is a member of the Way of the White. She is an undead. She's on an undead mission, which means they wander the world kindling bonfires, which means they collect humanity, and then they feed humanity into the bonfires to keep them lit. We don't yet understand why that happens, and to be fair, even the people who say they do understand why humanity gets fed to the bonfires, a lot of it is conjecture because it's all based on sort of the subtle hidden storytelling in this game. Occasionally Lautrec will offer an option where he'll sort of warn you that he doesn't trust Petrus, that Petrus may be up to something. And we will, you know, just keep that in the back of your head for later on, because again, there is more story that gets exposed with Rhea. Imperial Star Destroyer is saying I didn't get pyromancy, and yep, you're right, I didn't. I'm not interested in pyromancy. I'm a cleric, but yeah, I really should have. Yeah, see, notice I'm doing now about double the amount of damage on this guy because I now have a weapon that is actually built for me. Goodbye. That said, there are probably ways you could handle it in D&D, but... Oh wait, I got distracted, right? We were talking about Rhea and Petrus. So yeah, the Way of the White, though, is... While it is sort of viewed generally as, I guess, the sort of default neutral good church, it's like your cleric of or your Church of Paylor in D&D. It's your default neutral good, bring the light, fight the bad guys type church. But there is this implication that they are undead hunters by their nature. You know, that they are at least partly responsible for locking away all of the undead in the asylum and trying to destroy the undead. And the fact that they are now starting to see some of their own members become undead has been troubling to them. And so when you become undead, if you are a member of the Way of the White, you are sent, as Petrus sort of explained, you're sent on this undead mission, which is basically go travel the world, gather humanity, feed it into bonfires, because that is important for some reason. And there's sort of an implication that when you are sent off to do that, you're actually being sent off to die. Or not die, but to just, A, get out of the church so that, you know, they don't have to deal with the fact that they have an undead abomination in their midst. And B, eventually, because it is such a dangerous thing to do, you will eventually just die repeatedly and lose your humanity and go hollow. So, there's... And as we get to more of Rhea's story, you'll sort of see that kind of play out a bit. It's also sort of... Because she's the daughter of a noble family, that there's also that issue there. Now, you may also notice, depending on how well the... Oh, shit. I let his huggy attack get off. Alright, enough of that. So you might also notice that there are these dart throwers. Littered throughout this area. Like, there's one right over there. See that light? He's hidden behind the light there, and he's throwing these poison darts. The darts actually do not have poison. They have a stronger poison status called toxic, which builds up the meter much more quickly, even through shields. And it does a lot of damage really fast. So if I take a hit, I'm pretty much immediately toxic. One hit, and you're done. Blooming purple moss clumps cure toxic, whereas just regular purple moss clumps cure poison. These guys are really obnoxious. The only good thing about the toxic dart throwers is they do not come back once they are killed. So if you can take them out... Whoop, oh, and now I've got 3 of these little boogity men. I'm backed into a corner, aren't I? Yes, I am. I'm in a lot of trouble here. Alright. I can't break out of this. Yeah, damn it. I didn't realize I had backed into a corner. Mad Adventurer is asking me, Angry, do you know about and have looked at the Dark Souls board game? No. Oh, God. Is there a board game? Like, why? That's absurd. Like, what in this game... Whoops. What in this game translates in any way to a board game? Like... Because you know what? This is the thing. It's licensed crap is what it is. I don't even have to know anything about it to know that it's licensed crap. Because here's the thing. Everything that this game does, everything that creates the core engagements of this game, the reasons to play it, are things you could not have in a board game. Okay? Oh, yeah, see, okay, so it's apparently, I'm sorry, Mad Adventure saying it's being billed as the hardest board game ever. You know what? People who talk about the fact that Dark Souls is the hardest game ever are missing the whole point of Dark Souls, okay? The core of Dark Souls is not the difficulty. The difficulty is there. But it is how it presents its difficulty and how the whole thing is put together. It is... you know what? I don't even want to talk about this. I'm so pissed. It's a cash-in. It's a friggin' cash-in. And you know what? That's a shame. Because here's the thing. First of all, Dark Souls wasn't even the first game in the quote-unquote series. Why aren't you grabbing the ladder? Grab the ladder. Climb down. Dark Souls was not the first game in the series. Okay, actually there was a game that preceded on the PlayStation 1, or on the PlayStation 2 called Demon Souls, which played differently, but controls, HUD, general forms of engagement, all very similar. Okay, and same sort of thing. Emergent story, a lot of lore revealed through NPC interactions, and a lot of hidden stuff. You know, it was basically, it was in every way the precursor to Dark Souls. But that wasn't even the first. Because before Demon Souls, there was a game called Kingsfield on, I think, the PS1. And I don't know too much about it, but again, it was built around very similar engagements, and you know, it did basically all the same stuff. And one of the things was that, like, a lot of the stuff that ended up in Demon Souls and Dark Souls and what have you, damn it, ended up in there because it's actually, like, Demon Souls was not, or Dark Souls was not, like, not really a AAA game. Okay, it didn't have the budget of most AAA games. And it was considered to be sort of a niche product. For whatever reason, Dark Souls, the first one, caught on and got huge. You know, lightning struck, it came out, it did the right things at the right time, and people found out about it, and they really loved it. It could have been Demon Souls before it. It could have been Dark Souls 2, whatever. And all of a sudden, a franchise was born. We can talk about some things about licensing and who's distributing it, and why Dark Souls 2 was made by a different team, and why the team that originally made Dark Souls went on to make Bloodborne and didn't just make a Dark Souls sequel, and now why they get to make a Dark Souls 3 after all. But all of that has to do with sort of business and numbers and licenses and product and things. Okay, but I'm getting my ass kicked here. Okay, guys, listen. But the point is that... Shit. Okay? The thing is, it became a huge franchise. It just did. It got lucky, and you know what? Good for them. I'm really happy when people design something really good, so, especially like what you have to understand is that the conventional wisdom is that a game like Dark Souls should not have succeeded. Okay, because it is very difficult. It is... though, again, I don't want to say that the difficulty is the thing that sold it. There's a lot of things that sold this game. The challenging nature is a part of it. Because, you know what? Again, that kind of comes back to that sort of community and camaraderie feel to it. Where it's built around this sort of building a community. Because if you make it difficult, if you make it a challenge, if you make it feel like an achievement to beat it, then, you know, if a community is built around it, it becomes sort of a badge of honor. You know, you kind of earned your place in the community if you can say that you beat the game. And how many... Yes, message, go away, let me climb down the ladder. But, yeah, fine. So the difficulty does work in that respect, but it's not because it's difficult, but because of what the difficulty does for people. Okay? The idea of creating a board game, and from what the chat is saying, that it's basically a dungeon crawly type board game, which, fine. You know, it's, I guess, if you want to boil, Dark Souls down to its, basically, like, the completely shallow surface, what is Dark Souls? Sure, it's a dungeon crawl. Fine. And it's a hard dungeon crawl. If you don't understand at all anything about the design of it, yeah, that's what you've got. Okay? And so, of course, that's what you're going to sell as a board game. And that's... So, it's clearly just a cash-in. And the fact that... I'm very surprised it got 10,000 backers and 70,000 gold. Yeah, fine, okay. I'm not surprised in the least. It's big right now, and I don't blame anybody for trying to make as much money as they can out of this franchise before it goes away. You know, because eventually it's gonna stop. And you know what? For that matter, it might even be a really fun board game. You know, I mean, but there are lots of really hard board games. You know, I mean, like look at Pandemic or what is it? Arkham Horror? The Cthulhu board game. those are games that are hard to win. Cooperative-based games that are hard to win. Now, I could be totally wrong, because I have not even seen this thing. And I'm definitely going to check it out afterwards. And you know what? It might be a fun game, and if it doesn't manage to capture the essence of Dark Souls in my mind, but it still manages to be a fun dungeon crawler, fine and dandy. I'm okay with having a board game that's fun to play. I'm not going to be one of those people who's going to sit here and say, well, it's the wrong kind of fun, so I'm just not going to have it. Oh, come on. Now I'm hung up on some... Okay. You know what? Capra Demon in one try, Gaping Dragon I plowed through, and now this is where I'm having my trouble. The entrance to Blighttown, not even the hard part. Damn it. I'm sorry, you guys got me raging. Whoa, I was trying to read the chat and then hit the wrong button and got distracted. I gotta magnify the text in the chat, because I've got it in my laptop in front of me. And it's already off to one side, so I can't look. It's hard to look at the chat while I'm playing. So Helmy1 is saying, what class would I recommend for a first-time player in Dark Souls? Honestly, here's the deal. Pick a class at random. Pick whatever class looks good, except for Deprived. Pick whatever class seems most interesting and most fun to you, just based on the fact that they got a sword, or they got a big heavy axe, or they seem light, or they've got a bow. Whatever it is that tickles your particular fancy, just start playing with that class and try it out. And what's going to happen is you're either going to discover that you like the class's starting equipment, you like the way the longsword feels, or you like the way the battle axe feels, or whatever, or you're not. In which case, restart and try a different class. Alright? Classes in Dark Souls, particularly because what it comes down to is it comes down to the equipment more than anything else. And the equipment sets in Dark Souls, it's kind of like therapists and prostitutes. You have to be willing to shop around a little to find the good ones. Okay? It is, and and really, you're not even locked into it, because once you start finding other, like the cleric started with a mace, but I chose to move to the longsword because I like the faster weapon. So, just keep trying until you find something. And also, you are going to get wrecked a lot no matter what you play. That's part of the game. While I'm saying that difficulty is not what defines the game is also difficult. It's just a part of the game. Alright, so now let's talk about Blighttown a little bit, because here we are in Blighttown. Blighttown is built... Whoops. Excuse me. I was trying to describe your homeland to the nice people at home. Blighttown is actually built up... if you... And I'll show this off more when I get the binoculars in the graveyard. But Blighttown actually lies between the city's walls. The city of Lordran, because this is all taking place in one place, one city, the city of Lordran, the city of Lords, the city of the ancient lords, right? And the city is basically laid out as a bunch of concentric circles, separated from one another with these huge walls. And it's also a very vertical city. Okay, so it's kind of built... It's sort of like what was the Lord of the Rings city? Not Osgiliath. How it was sort of built up vertically. So Lordran is built up around basically these vertically placed concentric rings. Oh, some of the bridges here do this wobbly thing, which makes it easier to fall off of them. Okay, so Blighttown is actually built between the massive honking concentric circle walls of the city, in basically this big deep pit. It's basically built where there's a huge difference in height between one level of the city and another. So it's all of these scaffoldings built up around and above the base of Blighttown. Okay, and that's what we were talking about, vertical space, because like if you look down, there is just this maze of platforms going all the way down. And this area is one of the reasons that I love this area. And I shouldn't have fallen there. Falling there was a mistake. Oh, right, the fire-breathing rat dogs. I'm sure they have a name, but to me they will be the... Oh, I'm toxic again. I fell. I didn't mean to fall. And okay, I gotta get back up because we're not gonna be able to talk about this. We're not gonna be able to discuss this area if I don't take it right, because this is a hugely confusing area, which is why I loved it. Because again, I am obsessed with finding absolutely everything, and when I finally understood how the actual layout and the interconnection between it, like I could map this in my head, that's when it became really super cool. And that's why I love Blighttown. I love the layout of this area. Also, despite the fact that it is a completely obnoxious pain in the ass area to navigate, it must have been extremely complicated to design it so that it was navigable. And there are a couple of tricks that they use to make it more navigable. One of the things we'll see... so for example, lighting. I've mentioned a few times how this game uses lighting to really good effect to draw your attention. And what you're going to find is that wherever there is a ladder, there is a torch. Okay? There are torches where there are no ladders also. But wherever there is a ladder, there is a torch burning so that you can find the ladder, top and bottom. See? And that remains true of the whole area. There are a few sort of windy, out-of-the-way places. And it also does a really good job of making you feel like you're trapped before you understand how you can get back out again. So basically, there's two ways for you to proceed forward from here. Okay? We can go down the ladder that I took, or you can see the object there and read these messages, because I'm sure this message says something like, oh, good luck. And you can try to make that jump. I don't have any stats on this, so I don't know which way most people go, but the first time I came down, I actually tried to make the jump. That's what I spotted first. In fact, for whatever reason, I didn't quite notice this side path here. And the sort of it's triangular, actually. And I didn't find this ladder either, because I didn't notice until later on the whole torches equal ladders thing. So the first thing I did was to see that there's an item in space floating out there on that platform, and that's probably where I have to go anyway. So you jump for it, and oh good, I missed the jump. Fan-friggin-tastic. Yeah. I am in a little bit of trouble here. Okay, yeah, so I missed that jump, which kind of sucks. But I'm pretty sure that I missed it the first time too, and I think everybody falls the first time. But I did at least land down here. Whoops, and actually right down there. Okay. So now on this little balance beam, and it gives us some blooming purple moss clumps to deal with the toxicity. Before we explore any further forward, though, see again, torch, ladder. Well, okay, O-Dog is saying, oh god, I hate jump puzzles. Technically, there are no jump puzzles here. that jump was completely optional. You do not have to make that jump. There is an easier path down, which you find simply by exploring. So let's swallow some humanity so that we can kindle our bonfires, because I always kindle my bonfires. Honestly, I'm trying to think now. I don't think there's anything in this game that I would actually call a jump puzzle. There are a couple of falling puzzles. That I'm not going to deny. But I don't think there's anything that I class as a jumping puzzle. Alright, so now we'll go back down and explore this way. Oh, right, I brought you guys back to life. I literally forgot the core mechanic of this game, where every time I go to sleep, everything comes back to life. I'm like, well, I killed those guys. I can just climb down that ladder now. Now we have another wobble bridge. That was close. And I'm pretty sure that wobble bridge is also optional. You don't need to come in this direction at all. Of course, the problem is, you could say that this is optional and that's optional until you're blue in the face. But the fact is, in an exploration-based game, nothing is optional because it's going to depend on what you find first. What the hell just happened? Why can't I hit those guys, and where are all my hit points? Something went wrong there. I just swung right through. I don't know. Oh yeah, Imperial Star Destroyer is pointing out the frame rate. Yeah. The one thing, this is a problem. Okay? Blighttown tanks the frame rate. Because of all the, basically, it's such a complicated area, that it's drawing so many objects that, yeah, the frame rate just drops to shit in some spots. I've heard that it's actually worse on the Xbox version. I've heard that in some places in Blighttown, the frame rate will drop to single digits on the Xbox, but I can't confirm that. I'm on the PlayStation 3 version, in case I haven't mentioned that. I think that's it, right? Just that one item? That's the only thing I can get down here? Could have sworn there was something else. Oh, okay. Nope. But now I can look out and you can see again how this is sort of built up between the walls of the city. This is also a neat place to show off something interesting about the draw distances in the game. Okay, that's an area down there, that swampy area at the base of the wall. I will go down there. And you can see off in the distance glowing is an item. You can even see down there, directly below me, you can actually see the mosquitoes and the spiders that I will encounter later on. That's all, the game draws at these very long distances, and in fact, if I died down there and left my little glowing green orb where, you know, you pick up your lost souls, I could see them from up here. If, you know, it's not faking it. Or it's rendering it's drawing absolutely everything that's down there. Oh, Arthur H. Arthur HS is saying that the frame rate hit was really bad on the PC version too. I imagine though, that because of the nature of you know, it being a PC, that probably you can do some things to the hardware to make that work, but I don't know how to PC. I do know that I cannot install a better video card in my PlayStation 3 though. we're going to go ahead and swallow these souls and level up a little bit. Yeah, and then we're going to keep exploring Blighttown a little bit. In fact, you know what? I think I'm going to go so far as to say that after Undead Burg and the Undead Parish, that whole first area, Blighttown is probably my favorite area of the game. It's atmospheric. It tickles my particular love of exploring 3D spaces and trying to make sense of them and find everything. Oh wait, let me repair my equipment first. Though equipment damage is noticeably less severe in this than it is in Bloodborne. I'm gonna keep pushing up my faith now because that is basically powering my attack stat, and also because if I do this right, I can actually get a really super cool, like an uber powerful spell. The super lightning spell. Imperial Star Destroyer likes Anor Londo, and we can sort of agree to disagree on that one because I am not a fan of Anor Londo at all. It's pretty. It's a nice atmospheric area, but, well, you know what? I'm not talking about things I'm not at yet. So, this is the path that leads back up to where I was. If I wanted to take another... Like, this is the way back out. So, this is the alternate way down. Instead of making that jump. So, if you want to take another shot at that jump to get that item... and since I am not leaving any items unturned, I'm going to have to. That said, I am getting kind of overwhelmed by these guys here. By the way, that floor is a breakaway floor. If you fall on it, it will drop you to your death. I think, if I remember correctly, if we sneak around here... Yep. And one of the things, too, the fact that the items glow is another really important fact... Oh, shit! Crap. The fact that the items glow and can be seen from a distance is actually a really important thing. That this game does, that like few other games really do. When you really think about it, there are not a lot of video games wherein there is a big, like scavenger hunt mechanic where items are super visible. The items in Dark Souls are extremely visible. Okay, like, just looking out into the darkness, I can see items. Well, I can see there's my dropped souls. But I can see an item down there. I can see... There's a lot of creatures dying. So I can see items from far away. And I can see the spaces that I'm going to explore from far away. Which, if I'm an obsessive explorer who wants to find absolutely everything, it actually helps me to be able to look around the space and say, okay, there's an item there. How can I get at it from up here? And again, it ties back into the whole vertical puzzle solving thing. Like, a lot of the items in Blighttown, especially, you find by trying to figure out how to get above them and then dropping down onto them. Like the shadow gear. But again, it also involves creeping around every corner and looking around every edge. So, yeah, there. And now again, torch and ladder But here's the interesting thing. Notice that we're climbing past another level there, though we can't quite get up to. Well, again, we want to check absolutely everywhere, don't we? Oh, look at that. Another hidden thing there. Yep. Because we are exploring the shit out of this game, right? We're going to find everything. You can also look down and see if your drops are safe or not. Whoops. Hello. Yeah, you come on. Not sure where you're going to there, sir. I wonder if he's eventually going to find his way to me. Yep, and then we got a little bit of a drop there. And now I'm pretty much back around to where I started that little journey. And we can... Now we can climb up and take another attempt at... Yeah, so now we can climb up and take it. I was trying to read some of the chat. Zane DeSanto saying, if you play any number of the thrown together shovelware on Steam, one of the recurring motifs therein is that necessary pickups have a very low visibility, sometimes very nearly a pixel on it. Yeah, actually, that is actually something that goes back to the old point-and-click adventure days when we were having trouble figuring out how to add challenge to certain types of games. So I believe the colloquialism for that is pixel bitching. Alright, I am not managing my stamina well at all here. In fact, I think I really need to throw some points in stamina. It's actually really interesting. Now, because Zane DeSantis is talking about other games in which, where item visibility and being able to visualize the whole space is important. I mean, anything pre-3D, obviously, you know, that's not an issue, you know, because you have such a very limited view of the world. You know, in any 2D game, you have a very limited view of the world. There's no such thing as distance. Your distance is to the edge of the screen, whatever it is. You know, that's just part of the nature of a 2D playing space. So I've got to kind of hit it. I'm hitting that post, so I got to go from here. All right. There we go. And voila, and I find a katana that I will never ever use. But I have to have it. And you know what? If I didn't get it, it would eat at me. It really does. I am exactly the right type of person for scavenger hunting type games. Because, like, I would not have slept at night. If I had not grabbed the Ayato... Oh, crap. I thought I backed away enough. Uh-oh. No, please don't hurt me. Alright, 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 alright. I'm gonna... This is not actually going that well, I gotta say. Blighttown is another area that I've heard from a couple of people was kind of their quit moment, where they got kind of really frustrated with the game and just didn't want to play anymore. And I can kind of see it. There's this area in particular. Whoops. I hate when... So, sometimes you'll see me and I end up pointing the camera in completely the wrong direction. I'd like to explain what's going on there so that you don't think that I'm like brain damaged. But, so in order to lock onto an opponent, you have to tap the right thumbstick. You know, the right analog stick. And that gives you, that's your lock on. But that is also centering the camera behind your character. And the lock on in this game is sometimes a little bit, sometimes it doesn't want to lock on. There does seem to be a range, that you can lock on to opponents. But it actually varies a little bit, from area to area. And I think that they tried to make it based on things like lighting and you know, that kind of a thing. But in the end, the lock-on isn't always super reliable. So sometimes while I'm trying to lock onto an opponent, I'll end up accidentally centering the camera in the wrong direction instead. Oh, you survived that fall. Good for you. Come on back up. Arthur HS is observing that sometimes it also locks onto the wrong enemy. And yeah, you know what? That I forgive more, because at least it's locking onto something. It bugs me when it just doesn't lock onto anything. Because clearly there is a threat there. Like, again, note, torch ladder every time. The lighting in this game was used to really great effect. Also, every time that you kill one of the blowgun guys with the toxic darts, you will get moss clumps, either blooming moss clumps or just plain purple moss clumps. And you'll get multiples of them. So now we're out on one of the buttresses of the big wall itself, and you can see that we're actually outside. We're just very deep down. In this space between the city walls, between one city ward and another. And what was I gonna say? I was gonna make a. I was actually gonna quote Yahtzee in zero punctuation, but now I can't remember what it was that I was gonna say. All right, so whatever, it'll come back. And again, I'm finding all of these items, and then I just dump them all in my... little box. Now, I will tell you... You can... And the first time I played this, I figured this one out right away. Whoops. But you... See this, See that thing? You can, like, I am damaging that thing. You can sit here and chip away at that thing. That particular abomination. With arrows from right there, if you want to. I won't be doing that. I'd like to get a little closer, because I'm, you know, again, on my little tour of this game, I'd like... So... We can get close to it now, and it does not like that, as you can see. See. So it's protecting that item. Yes, I get it. That's your item. Fine. Meanwhile, we'll climb up here. One of the neat things is, I love when games do, like, I'm fairly sure that enemy is unique. There is only one of those tentacle wall-clinging horrors in the game, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not, because, you know, I never am. But I find it really fascinating when they put that amount of work into a creature that appears in one spot that isn't a boss. It's not a set piece. It's just there. Like, I love when game designers do that sort of shit. It's like, okay, yeah, here's a big old tentacle wall huggy thing. You'll never see it again. You know. Though at the same time, in a game like this, it is important that you don't encounter too many unique opponents. It's actually like it's one of my big complaints with D&D is how many monsters DMs only ever use once. And like just so that you know now, we are behind the wall monster. I'm not sure what it can do from back here. Am I hurting it? I seem to be stuck now. Well, now I'm in trouble. Okay, clearly it was holding me in place. Alright. So it was the only thing between me and a lethal fall. I got caught up in the... I kind of slipped off the edge of the gap there, and then because of the collision with the enemy, I couldn't actually fall. And then when the enemy died, I was free to fall. So that's what happened there. That was pretty funny. The thing is, by the way, I'm gonna throw this out. Just as much as I love Dark Souls, it is a very buggy game. You know, it's not Bethesda buggy. Yeah, you know. Or yeah, is it Bethesda? Skyrim and Fallout and all of those guys? Yeah. Yeah, it's not that level of buggy. It's not Red Dead Redemption buggy, but it does have its weird little glitches. And we saw the same, like the physics engine especially. The physics engine sometimes tends to get a little bit confused by things like physics. Which, as a general rule, your physics engine, if there's one thing you want it to be able to handle, it's, you know, collisions and physics. So, but sometimes, like, that's why when we were playing Bloodborne, we kept having enemies that would get caught in walls and stuff. And why sometimes the clipping rules, whether an attack penetrates an object or not, like a wall, those rules vary depending on the mood of the game and whether it's you or the enemy and what have you. You know, so you're never quite sure how the game is going to treat any particular instance of collision between weapon and wall. Sometimes it doesn't care. Other times your attack will bounce right off a wall. Enemies can... Yeah, okay, see, now I have to actually... I can't retrieve... Damn it! Okay, so I got a Pyromancy, which is basically a spell scroll that I can't equip. Oh. O-Dog is saying... hold on. Imperial Star Destroyer is saying, how late are you planning on going? I don't know. Probably not much longer. Probably another 20 minutes at most. Once I hit 11:30, it's pretty much my limit. Because I got shit to do anyway tomorrow morning. But, O-Dog is saying don't remember a lot of bugs in Red Dead Redemption. Oh, there were a couple of really funny bugs that got a lot of play. There was the one that was imposing, what was it, the animal animations on humans. So you would have the human models, but they would be like stretched out into the shape of a horse and walking around like a horse. And a bunch of those. There was a lot of issues with the horse getting caught up in physics objects. Not like the horses in Skyrim. You know, they weren't gravity-defying horses. They were horses where they would get caught in walls and trees and stuff. And occasionally your character would also get... There was a lot of collision issues. But I think they patched a lot of them. The freakiest one... Go online... go on YouTube. You should be able to find videos of some of the Red Dead Redemption. I'm not sure how to search for it. I can't remember any of the particulars of it, but you should be able to find some of the like the animations getting swapped around, Because those ones were really funny. Oh, shit. Hi, ogre. Oh, crap. Yeah, Zane DeSantis is talking about the whole ragdoll thing. Not to mention all the enemies turn into corpse-shaped beanbags. Yep, the floppy corpses. That's sort of characteristic of the Havoc engine. The ragdoll physics. Ragdoll. That is a tough one to say. Ragdoll physics. Ragdoll corpses. This is what my commentary has been reduced to. Remember before, I'm like, well, let's talk about how the core engagements of the game and, you know, whether we could classify design as good or bad based on whether or not this particular boss fight violates what the game has been doing up to this point. Now it's, ragdoll is hard to say. Ragdoll, ragdoll, ragdoll. How would you build a vertical space in D&D? Well, I wouldn't for these 7 reasons. Ragdoll, ragdoll, ragdoll. I really am, like, my stamina management is shit. I keep running out of stamina. What the hell happened to me? I mean, I won't claim to be good at this, but... like, running out of stamina is embarrassing. And I am running out of stamina a lot. And I'm really trying not to fall back on the whole lightning bolt spell. Because even though I love being in the Covenant of the Sun, and I really love the lightning bolt spell, or the lightning spear, and I absolutely love the fact that it is the same spell that God used in the opening cutscene. Right, again. Okay, that was pretty funny. I was just watching that play back on the stream because of the delay, and I'm gonna go ahead and say again, that was the physics engine killing me because I was on that ledge. Okay, I was on the ledge and then all of a sudden slipped off. But whatever. Fine. I really want to hit the next bonfire before I quit for the night. So that next time we'll be in the base of Blighttown. And it's not far, it's just all of a sudden I'm having way more trouble with this area than I've ever had before. Except for my first time through, I gotta say, this is not one of the areas that gave me much trouble. Again, because I'm so like, fastidious about picking it apart and taking every turn and killing every enemy and surveying my landscapes and all of that. Okay. Hello? Yeah, we're not gonna... And I know you've got a buddy behind you. Damn it. See, like right there. The game decided... Oh, damn it. I backed off the edge. So, like, right there was an example of where the game decided, you know what, actually, this time that attack can go right through the wall. It's fine. It's fine. It's not going to hurt it. You know, it's... And then I walked off the edge. Alright. I think this ogre is telling me that he wants to be my stopping point for the night. Which, fine. I mean, I've explored Blighttown. I've picked up everything now. So I'm not too worried about leaving it here. Because at this point now it's getting down to the bottom and then... But I'm glad that the Twitter poll... Blue Crowl is again trying to sell me on the damn Grass Crest shield. I don't like that shield. It's too heavy. It ruins my dodge roll that I never use because I just use footwork. Speaking of, you know what? I'm gonna say that if I were ever writing an RPG based on, you know, like a fantasy action RPG, one of the things I would try to do is find ways to reflect other aspects of combat than, you know, which attack do you use. Like I would love to represent things like footwork and, you know, jockeying for position and that kind of a thing. If I were writing an RPG. Damn it, I didn't back far enough away. I'm just not that into you! Alright. Fucking ogre. Ha! Alright, it also doesn't help that the terrain keeps getting in the way of my camera. Oh shit, there's another guy behind me now? And the camera is just freaking out because it can't find a place where it's not... So that's the other problem, is that the camera is... Fuck you. This is it! This is my wall. This is my plateau, is this spot. And it's friggin' gravity that's killing me every time. It's not even the damn ogre. Alright. 11:30. That's 15 minutes from now. That is a hard limit. One way or the other. Either I have gotten down to the next bonfire, or I call it a night. Honestly, you know, I don't even have to stop playing at a bonfire. I just realized this game autosaves like every 10 seconds. That was not good. Salmello, how do you feel about Burning Wheel's fight system? Never again. Burning Wheel does not have a fight system, okay? Burning Wheel has a mess which you can lay a fight on top of. Okay, but it is not a fight system. I am never, ever playing any game based on Burning Wheel again. There is such a thing as too abstract, is like part of the problem, okay? Burning Wheel's system is so abstract that it does not need the metaphor. Okay, metaphor. So, like, in any game, like in any role-playing game or board game or whatever, you have the mechanics of the system, and then you have what those mechanics actually represent, like, what's happening in the game world. Okay, you have the mechanics and you have the metaphor. Okay, so for example, Clue, the board game Clue has these mechanics wherein you have particular cards in your possession, and you can ask people about the cards they have in their possession, or, you know, you can make guesses about certain cards, and that represents gathering evidence and questioning witnesses and all of that shit, right? The closer the mechanics and the metaphor are to one another, the more you are making decisions about the metaphor rather than the mechanics. Okay? It's a concept, I guess, like, if you want to sound like a pretentious douchebag, you can use the phrase, like, ludocognitive dissonance or gameplay story segregation. Okay? Which is basically, the mechanics, you know, basically how tied to the mechanics is the story and how tied to the story is the mechanics. Like, how well do the two things fit together, okay? And one of the signs that things don't fit together really well is if you could take away the metaphor and still have it all play out the same. Okay? And Burning Wheel is a perfect example. The conflict resolution system, I'm fucking trapped. The conflict resolution system in the Burning Wheel games is so fucking abstract that it doesn't need to be about anything other than the Burning Wheel conflict resolution system. You can speak completely in the language of those games' mechanics, make no reference to what's actually going on in the system, or what's actually going on in the game world, what's actually going on in the fiction, and the game will run exactly the same. And that, to me, is a failure of a role-playing game. Because in a good role-playing game, you should not be able to pull the metaphor away from the conflict resolution. You know, when this person is standing there or doing this thing in the game world, it should be represented by the mechanics in such a way that nothing else could be represented by that mechanic. Okay? I hate Burning Wheel. I hate it. Alright? And you know what? It wouldn't be so bad if the conflict resolution system weren't such a complicated little mini game that you had to play in terms of its mechanics. That not only can you remove the story from the conflict resolution and not have it change the feel of the conflict in any way, but it's also easier to play it out if you don't sweat what's going on in the fictional world and just worry about how to spend resources and how to play the rock paper scissors game of which actions are effective against which actions. So how do I feel about the Burning Wheel system as a good representation of interesting fight mechanics? Burning Wheel can go to hell. Never again. Never again. I don't mean, like, you know what? It's not... you know what? I can't even say that. You know, normally this is the point where I'd say, okay, it's not a bad game, and if it's the sort of thing you enjoy, then fine, go to town, enjoy it. I don't care. But in this case, no. If you like Burning Wheel and you enjoy playing that system, you are wrong. You are axiomatically wrong. Okay? You are provably incorrect. It is a bad game. Which is a shame, too, because Luke Crane has said many things that I actually agree with. I just wish he'd follow through with them in his own products. Yeah, what was it? I ran a group through Torchbearer for 3 months, which was the fantasy dungeon crawling Burning Wheel. And, you know, one of the people I ran through it at the end of the 3-month experience, because one of the things the rulebooks, like, when I run a role-playing game, okay, when I'm trying out a game, because I was just trying it out. That's all I want to do is just see how it ran. Anything that the book says or anything that the game says to me, I will take that as gospel. So one of the things Torchbearer says right off the bat is, this is not a game you can run a one-shot in. It's a game that you have to, you know, experience over numerous sessions. So I'm like, okay, I'm running a 3-month mini-campaign of Torchbearer. Just to see how it plays, just to experience it. I gave the game a chance on its own merits to impress me. And at the end of the whole experience, one of the players actually said to me, you know, Torchbearer is actually a really excellent system for running Torchbearer. That's the only the only thing that the system can simulate is it is a simulation of itself. Oh, crap. Did I manage to not aggro your little buddy? Where did you come from now? Well, I don't care. Alright. Holy crap. Imperial Star Destroyer is asking about the One Ring. I've never done anything with it. I've never played it. I want to give it a try. I'm curious, but... I hear it's a good system. But you know what? I'm at the point now where I'm starting to care less and less about the damn system. Which I know sounds crazy coming from me. It's like, but most of the systems coming out now, they, you know, like a system really has to do something interesting to wow me these days. So it's kind of hard to see, but I think, right, if we drop down, yeah, there's an item directly below us. If we scooch off the edge here, we can find the whip, which is a rare and terrible weapon that is completely useless. But now we have it because we want to have everything. And then we end up... Oh, come on! Oh, Mad Adventure tells me they're now doing a One Ring D20. I'm sorry, isn't One Ring D20, wouldn't that be Dungeons and Dragons? You know, I mean, call a spade a spade. At a certain point, you just gotta admit that there's not much difference between Lord of the Rings and D&D. Right, the One Ring is Lord of the Rings, right? I'm not. It's Tolkien. It's not something else, right? Because I went through this long period where I kept getting the One Ring system. Every time someone said the One Ring to me, I heard Legend of the Five Rings, and I don't know why. It was just like this hang up in my head. I just kept getting conflating the two names in my head for absolutely no good reason. Until I discovered that the One Ring and Legend of the Five Rings are two completely different games. That's it. If I die here now, that's it for tonight. Yeah, so anywho. Yeah, so if they're doing a D20 One Ring, then what is... Like, here's my question. It's what is... So, like, my thing is, I'm into the whole fantasy genre. Okay, that's my bread and butter. I like swords and sorcery, you know, wizards and knights and castles and dragons and princesses, all that crap. That's what I do. That's where I live. That's my oeuvre, right? And so if I'm gonna change systems, then I want to know what is another system going to give me for that. Oh, I'm hung up on the physics objects again. And somehow I didn't die there. Alright, fuck this, I'm done. Oh, Mad Adventure saying One Ring is very Fate-like. What, like... I don't even want to know. I'm done for the night. I actually probably should have called it quits like an hour ago. I let Dark Souls fatigue set in. I'm glad that the poll worked out this way, that people wanted me to keep playing this game, because I'm going to come back and do more Dark Souls very soon. I'm just going to check my